It started like most parenting nightmares do, quietly, and with a suspicious lack of mess. I'm Mike, 34, dad of a 6-year-old named Leo who's always been a weird mix of curious and chaotic. A few months ago, I let him watch YouTube Kids on my iPad while I handled a conference call. Rookie mistake. I came back to find him cackling at something called Italian Brainrot Comp Vol. 8. It was a fever dream of Italian chefs shouting over distorted opera music, cartoon pizzas spinning in space, and an old man yelling, "Pasta is eternal," every 5 seconds. At first, it seemed harmless. Leo laughed like a maniac. I figured, hey, at least it's not cockamelon. But then he started repeating phrases. Not English, not even Italian, just pure chaos. He called me father of the sauce. He referred to bedtime as the hour of gnocchi shadows. I didn't think much of it. Kids say weird stuff, right? But that was before the school called me. That's when I realized this was going to be a lot more than a quirky phase. This was the beginning of something. Chewy. The call from Leo's teacher came at exactly 10:37 a.m. I remember because I had just microwaved leftover lasagna. Ironic, considering the chaos about to unfold. "Hi, Mr. Davis. This is Miss Ramirez, Leo's first-grade teacher. We're a little concerned." Apparently, during morning circle time, Leo stood up, raised his arms dramatically, and declared, "Today we feast on the linguine of truth." Then he spun in a circle, flung a glue stick into the air, and started chanting. T-U-N-G, 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 S-A-H-U-R. C-A-P-U-C-H-N-O, A-S-S-A-S-S-I-N-O. Another student tried to correct him, and Leo shouted, "Silenzio, non-believer," before grabbing the class hamster's cage and whispering, "The Ravioli prophecy begins with you." Miss Ramirez said they calmed him down eventually by giving him some crackers and promising extra coloring time. But then he tried to draw a pentagram out of marinara sauce during lunch. I couldn't even form full words on the phone. All I managed was, "I'm so sorry, this isn't." "I don't." She sighed, "Honestly, we've seen worse. Last year a kid brought a lizard named Beyoncé to class. But maybe limit the pasta videos." I nodded silently, forgetting she couldn't see me. I had no idea how far down the rigatoni rabbit hole we'd fallen. I showed up at Leo's school the next morning with coffee in one hand and panic in the other. Miss Ramirez greeted me outside her classroom like she was about to deliver news of a small political uprising. We sat across from each other at a tiny, kid-sized table. She had a folder labeled Leo Linguini Incident. I almost laughed, but the expression on her face said this was not pasta business as usual. "We love Leo," she began. "He's imaginative, but lately, he's been leading what I can only describe as a Parmesan-based revolution. Apparently, he convinced 3 classmates to chant Spaghetti Sanctum, mozzarella for all, in the lunchroom. He drew a giant meatball on the whiteboard and called it the orb of eternal sauce. When asked to solve a math problem, he answered, "Only the Capuchino Assassino knows the sum." I rubbed my forehead. "This is my fault. He's been watching too many Italian meme videos. I didn't think it'd stick." Miss Ramirez smiled sympathetically. "They always stick. Kids absorb chaos like dry pasta in boiling water." I thanked her and promised to talk to Leo. On the way out, I passed his class. Through the door window, I saw him pretending to stir an invisible pot and whispering, "Tongue, tongue, tongue, satyr." Yeah, we were in deep sauce now. Dinner was supposed to be normal, just spaghetti with meatballs. Simple. Safe. But as I set the plates down, Leo slid onto his chair like a Vatican cardinal about to conduct mass. He folded his hands, closed his eyes, and began to chant, "Capellini sanctificatum in nomen pesto, tralalero tralala." He then lifted a single meatball on his fork, held it above his head, and shouted, "Behold, the orb of sauce, the first sign." My wife, Rachel, nearly dropped her wine glass. I froze with the Parmesan shaker midair. Leo continued, "Let the sacred noodles descend upon our souls. Mamma mia per favor." Then dramatically he threw a handful of dry spaghetti that he'd apparently hidden in his pocket onto the floor. "Leo," I said, trying not to laugh, but also trying not to scream. "Can we just eat?" He looked at me utterly serious. "Father, we do not consume, we commune." Rachel blinked. Did he just quote a food cult? I didn't answer. I was busy Googling Brainrot meme detox under the table. That night, he refused dessert. Said tiramisu was only for those who complete the Ravioli pilgrimage. I was beginning to realize this wasn't just a phase. This was a full-blown spaghetti doctrine. I thought things couldn't get any weirder, until I found Leo FaceTiming with my younger brother, Jake. Jake's 27, a graphic designer, self-proclaimed meme connoisseur, and lifelong agent of chaos. I peeked into Leo's room and saw the screen filled with Jake's face, wearing a colander on his head and holding a wooden spoon like a scepter. "Remember," Jake was saying, "the spaghetti speaks only to those who stir with intention." Leo, eyes wide with reverence, whispered, "Capuchino Assassino, teach me more." I barged in. "Jake, what the hell, man?" Jake looked sheepish. "What? He's hilarious. I've been sending him curated Italian Brainrot compilations. That kid's got taste." "You're fueling the pasta madness," I hissed. "He threw penne at the neighbor's cat this morning and called it the noodle judgment." Jake laughed so hard he nearly dropped his spoon. "Dude, that's gold." Leo looked betrayed. "You said it was sacred." I pointed at the screen. "No more Cullender conferences. You're blocked." Jake protested, Leo sulked, and I realized this war wasn't just against memes. It was against my own bloodline. That night, Leo made a paper crown and declared himself Duke Alfredo of Bedroom Province. I started researching monasteries with no internet access. I knew we had reached DEFCON Ravioli when I walked into the hallway and saw it. A massive symbol, about 4 feet wide, drawn on the wall in squiggly red lines. At first, I thought it was a ketchup accident. But no, Leo had taken the squeezed bottle of tomato sauce from the fridge and carefully painted a full-blown spaghetti sigil. It looked like a pentagram had married a lasagna. He was kneeling in front of it, hands clasped in prayer. "Leo," I whispered. He turned slowly, eyes full of eerie calm. "The sauce accepts your presence, Father." I blinked. That's my wall. It is now the sacred panel of San Marzano. I closed my eyes, counted to 5, opened them. It was still there. "Leo, buddy, you can't draw marinara runes on the hallway." He looked genuinely hurt. But I had a vision. The rigatoni archangel visited me in a dream. He said I must prepare the way. "Prepare the way for what?" Leo whispered, "The boiling." At that point, I stopped trying to parent. I just turned around and walked straight into the bathroom, locked the door, and Googled exorcist for meme-related possession. The top result was a YouTube ad for Olive Garden. Out of desperation and slight fear for the wallpaper, I scheduled an appointment with Dr. Felton, a respected child psychologist known for working with high-imagination kids. The office was calm and cozy, filled with soft toys, gentle lighting, and framed quotes like, "Feelings are friends." I was hopeful. Leo walked in wearing his paper crown and carrying a spatula. When Dr. Felton smiled and said, "Hi, Leo, I'm glad you're here," Leo replied. "Grazy, keeper of the mind. I bring word from the creamy oracle of rigatoni." The doctor paused. I gave a tight-lipped smile. "He's going through a phase." Leo then sat cross-legged on the rug and began drawing pasta shapes in the sandbox. "We are but noodles in the soup of destiny," he murmured. Dr. Felton tried asking him simple questions, name, age, favorite color. But Leo responded only in cryptic spaghetti scripture. At one point he said, "Only those who boil with intention may sauce the truth." By the end of the session, the doctor gently pulled me aside and said, "He's unique, perhaps less screen time, also maybe. No more sauces unsupervised." I nodded, defeated. In the car, Leo looked out the window and whispered, "They don't believe, but the boiling is near." I considered switching countries. I was on a work call when I heard it, the chanting. Slow, rhythmic, ominous. Tongue, tongue, tongue saher capellini sanctus, mamma mia eternal. I muted my mic and followed the sound to the backyard. What I saw stopped me cold. Leo had turned our patio into a full-blown spaghetti altar. There were noodles hanging from a small folding table, plastic bowls of tomato sauce arranged like relics, and our golden retriever, Milo, sitting in the center wearing a towel cape and a pasta strainer as a helmet. Leo stood over him holding a wooden spoon in both hands like a scepter. "I hereby anoint you, Sir Ravioli, first hound of the holy boiling," he declared. Milo blinked, looked confused but vaguely honored. "Leo, what are you doing?" I asked, already bracing for another surreal answer. He turned deadly serious. "The prophecy required a guardian. The dog was chosen." I looked at Milo. He licked his own nose. Rachel came out with a drink and stopped mid-sip. "Oh good, another cult." I sighed, dragging a lawn chair over to sit beside her. "At least it's not satanic," I muttered. Leo raised his spoon. "The sauce is patient, the sauce forgives." "All hail the pasta beast." Milo barked once. I think that sealed it. I had reached my limit. After the backyard noodle coronation, I sat down that night, opened my router settings, and blocked YouTube across every device we owned. Leo's tablet, the TV, my phone, Rachel's phone, gone, purged. Exorcised, I felt like a hero, a warrior of sanity. Then Leo woke up the next morning, reached for his iPad, and nothing loaded. He stared at it, tapped again, reloaded. Blank screen, a pause, then the wail. NOOO. They've banished the temple. I ran in just in time to see him collapse dramatically onto the carpet. Rachel peeked from the hallway, coffee in hand. Was this the YouTube ban? Yep. Leo clutched his crown to his chest. The oracle. The saw sermons, tralalero tralala is gone. I knelt beside him. Leo, buddy, I just think maybe it's time for a little break from pasta prophecy. He looked up, tears welling. But the boilining, we were so close. I know, but the sauce will wait. He sniffled, will it forgive me? I nodded solemnly. The sauce always forgives. He blinked, then quietly, that is true. That morning we made pancakes together. No sauce, no chanting, just breakfast. It was almost peaceful, almost. It's been 3 weeks since the great YouTube purge. Leo is better. He's still quirky. He insisted on naming our tomato plant Lord Basilico. But he no longer blesses our meals with marinara incantations. He draws dinosaurs again instead of pentagrams made of penne. Progress. We started a new routine. Weekend pancake mornings, evening Lego time, and daily walks with Sir Ravioli, who's blissfully unaware of his former spiritual duties. Last night I tucked Leo into bed. He looked up at me with sleepy eyes and asked, "Dad, do you think spaghetti dreams of people too?" I smiled, "Only the lucky ones, buddy." He giggled, rolled over, and started murmuring to himself as he drifted off. I leaned closer. Very softly he whispered, "Forza mozzarella." I stood there, unsure whether to laugh or light a scented candle just in case. Rachel peeked in behind me and mouthed, "He's fine." Maybe he was. As I closed the bedroom door, I felt the quiet settle around the house. No chanting, no sauce on the walls, no holy forks, just peace. And if one day he finds a box of spaghetti under his bed and builds a shrine again, well, we've got wipes and a sense of humor. And honestly, at this point, I kind of miss the chanting.